Hello, you awesome people. So, adding and subtracting integers. I've got some super easy little tricks that I'm going to show you in this lesson that are going to help you to really understand how to do questions, for example, that are going to go something like -7 plus -2 plus -1 plus -3 minus -3 minus 1 plus -2. You know, maybe you already know how to do this really well. And by the way, if you're doing it on your calculator, bro, that ain't cool, because trust me, when they give it to you in the exam, they're not going to give you a calculator, or somehow they're going to design the question you're going to have to show how you do it without a calculator in one way or another, and you're never going to get your marks for just plugging it in on a calculator. Okay, so just don't do that. That's not smart to do it that way. Obviously, we can all type this in on our calculator, but I'm going to rather show you exactly how to do the question so you can get full marks in your test. Okay, so as I was saying, maybe some of you know how to do this already, but maybe some of you are like, Kevin, I don't even know, my bro. Like, I don't know what to do when there's a plus and a minus next to each other, or like a minus and a minus. What is that? I don't know what to do. Guys, I am here for you. I'm going to make this super easy for you. It is super easy after I show you these little tricks that we're going to do. Have a number line with you, or like you can just use the one here that I've got. It's going to be very useful to make use of a number line in the beginning stages while you're still wrapping your head around minus, plus, negative numbers, all of that. Okay, so let's get started, guys. I'm quite excited because I know that the things I'm going to share in this lesson have always helped learners in the past. So here we go. What did I want to start off by saying? The first thing we need to talk about is, that was it, is that you need to have a number line, okay, for the beginning stages. As you get better, eventually you won't need a number line. But in the beginning, trust me, use a number line. It's really helpful. The next things we need to talk about is what I like to call combos. Okay, now what is Kevin talking about? Well, if you look, for example, if I give you something like this, -3 minus -2, can you see that there is a negative and a negative next to each other? Now, that is called a combo, and that combo needs to become something, okay? So that's the first one I'm going to show you. Then the second one, what if you have like 7 minus a +3? So can you see we've got a combo there where there's a minus and a plus next to each other? I'm going to show you how to handle that. And then what if you have like 2 take away or 2 add -3? So here we have a plus and a minus next to each other. And then the fourth one is 7 plus +3. So here we have a positive and a positive next to each other. Now, what I want you to see is that I'm specifically talking about this area here where the 2 signs are next to each other. Can you see that? They're next to each other. I'm not talking about the following, because I've seen this happen in the past. Learners, they get a question like this, and they're like, oh yes, look, Kevin said whenever you have a minus and a plus next to each other. No, that's not what I'm saying. They need to be next to each other. You see, these two are not next to each other. There is a 7 in between. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when they are directly next to each other, okay? That is what we call combos. Now, how do we handle combos? Well, the first one is when you have a negative and a negative. Now, when you have a negative and a negative, I want you to turn that into a plus. Okay? So if we had to rewrite this question, it would be -3 plus, let's do this in a different color. It would be -3 plus 2. Then you can carry on with the question. Okay, so we don't want to have any of these bracket things, so we first get rid of that. Let's move on to this one quickly, and then we're going to do loads of examples. Okay, so let's quickly do combo number 2. So with combo number 2, it's when you have a negative and a positive. So you've got a negative and a positive next to each other. Now that is going to turn into a negative. Okay, I'm going to give you a nice easy way to remember this in a few moments. There is a way that you don't have to memorize it, but you can just remember, or you'll be able to remember it very easily. So what we'll do then is you'll take the 7, and then we've turned that combo into a minus. There we go. And then you can easily carry on with that question. Let's move on to combo number 3. Combo number 3 is when you have a plus next to a minus. Now, when you have a plus next to a minus, just change that to a minus. So this question would then become 2 minus 3. You see what we're doing? We're just taking the plus and the minus and we're just changing it to a minus. Here we took the minus and the minus and we just changed it to a plus. And then over here we took the minus and the plus and we just changed it to a minus. Okay, let's do the last combo. Whoops, that was over there. In combo number 4, we have a positive next to a positive. Now, when you have a positive next to a positive, keep it as a positive. So this question would just become 7, whoops, wrong color, 7 plus 3. So I think before we carry on to these next questions now, I want to quickly give you like 5 combos and you need to tell me what the answer will be. Oh, but first, I was supposed to tell you a little trick on how to remember it, wasn't I? Okay, so what we do. Kevin's trick to remember combos. So let's say, for example, you have a plus next to a minus. Now, I don't want you to have to memorize what that becomes. Instead, I want you to just check this out. So, if you look at this, how many lines can you see? Well, what do I mean? Well, can you see that there's a line over there? So that's 1 line. Then there's another line over there. So that's 2 lines. And then how many lines is that? That's 1 line. So how many lines are there in total? There's 3, right? 3 lines. Now, if the number of lines is an odd number, then the answer is negative. So, because 3 is odd, we use a minus or a negative. Okay? So let's say, for example, you had a plus next to a plus. Then how many lines is, or do you see over there? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 lines over here. So when it's a even number, because the number 4 is an even number, we make it a positive. Because 4 is even, we use a positive. Now, we could come up with any combination now. Let's say, for example, just some random example. Let's say there was a minus next to a minus, next to a plus, next to a minus, next to a plus, next to a minus. Then, how many lines can you see? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there were 8 lines. So 8 lines. So what would that become? Well, because 8 is an even number, you need to know your even and your odd numbers, right? Even numbers can be divided by 2. Odd numbers can't be divided by 2. So even numbers can be divided by 2. So 8 lines is going to be even number, so that's a positive. So because 8 is even, we use a positive. So whenever it's an even, use a positive. Whenever it's odd, use a negative. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So now when we go back to our previous slide, we can see here we had 2 negatives next to each other. So there was 1, 2 lines, and so 2 is an even number, so we made it a positive. When we were over here, we had a negative next to a positive, so there was 1, 2, 3 lines, so that's a negative, because that's odd. And then when we were over here, we have 1, 2, 3 lines, which is an odd number, that's a negative. And then here we had 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, so because that's an even number, so that one became positive. So now that we have all of that, now we can go do the questions with confidence. But I also need to show you how to use the number line. Okay, so here we have it. Now, we know the combos, so we know combos. And the combos, you wouldn't use a combo over here because you see there's no negatives and positives next to each other. But when we start getting to questions like this, that's where we have to use the combos. And there, for example, and like here, for example, that's where we're going to use combos. Okay, so it is coming up. So let's begin. The way that you do it is, okay, so there's no brackets. Can you see that there's no brackets? And there's no negatives and positives that are next to each other. So we don't need to use any combos. So once that's out the way, then our next step is to look at the following. Here's the number, the very first number is a 5. So I want you to go to your number line and say 5, or put a dot by the 5. Now, look at this next part. It's a negative. When there's a negative, go left. When there's a positive, go right. So how many places are we going to go? We're going to go left 7 places. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so what's the answer? -2. Okay, let's carry on. Whoop, here we see there's a negative and a positive, or a positive and a negative next to each other. That's a combo. So what does a positive and a negative become? Well, remember, just look at the lines. 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 lines. 3 is an odd number, so that's a negative. So our very first step would be to rewrite the question with the combo in place. You see how we've just taken that and we've turned it into a negative. Now we all know what 8 minus 2 is. It's 6. You don't have to use a number line for that. We only use a number line when it starts getting weird, like 5 take away 7, because 7 is bigger than 5. So it could get a bit tricky for some learners. But when it's 8 minus 2, we know that it's 6. If you want to use the number line, you can. But I think most of us would know that 8 minus 2, 6. Okay, here we have a combo. So when you have a plus and a minus, what does that become? Well, you count the lines. So we've got 1, 2, 3 lines. So 3 lines is odd, so that's a negative. And we don't say, oh, but Kevin, there's also a negative there. No. Remember, we're only looking at the pluses and the minuses and all of that next to each other, not the ones that are, those two there, they are not next to each other. There is a number in between them. So we don't look at this, okay? So we look at these two, and that becomes a negative. So we just change it to a negative. There we go. Once you've gotten rid of all of the brackets and all of the signs next to each other, now we start. So this first number is your starting number on the number line. So you go put a dot there at -3. Then this -2 over here tells you, or sorry, this negative over here tells you to go left, because remember, negative is left, positive is right. So we're going to go left 2 places. 1, 2. And so the answer is -5. Or -5, however you want to call it. Okay, first step. Is there any negatives and positives next to each other? Any brackets? No. So we don't need to look at any combos. So what we do is we take the first number, which is -8, which is here. And the next thing says plus. Okay, so what do we know? Negative means left. Plus means right. We don't look at this negative and say left. This first number is always where you're going to start on your number line. Then the next part says plus, so that means right. And so we're going to go 3 places to the right. 1, 2, whoopsie. 1, 2, 3. And there's your answer, -5. Okay, it's going to start getting a bit more challenging as we move on now. Ooh, we got 3 numbers. Can you handle it? Okay, so first step, get rid of all the combos. So this is not a combo, but here we have a combo. You see, you got a plus and a minus next to each other. So what is a plus and a minus? Well, there's 1, 2, 3 lines. So that is an odd number. Odd becomes a negative. So we keep the -4. That doesn't change. But then these two become a negative. And then we've got that. Okay, and so the first number is our starting point on the number line. Then, what do we have? Negative. Well, we know that negative means go left on the number line. Positive. Eventually, you won't need a number line. But you know when you first learn to ride a bicycle, you first have to put those little training wheels on the side. Well, that's the number line. And eventually, you become so comfortable with doing what you're doing that eventually you won't need those little side things anymore. But hey, before you can run, you must walk. Before you walk, you crawl. Okay, let's move on, Kevin. No need to be getting so deep, my bro. Okay, so negative means we're going to go left. And we're going to go left how many places? 2 places. So we're going to go 1, 2. Okay, now we are over here. Plus means go right. Okay, fine. So we over here now, and now we're going to go 3 places to the right from where we just finished. So 1, 1, let's do it in a different color. 1, 2, 3. So can I show you that again? We started over here, and then the first step we did was we went 2 places left. 1, 2. Then, because of this one, we go 3 places right. 1, 2, 3. And so where do we end up at the very end? We end up at, let me do that again. 1, 2, 3. We end up here at -3. And so this answer is -3. Oh, hello. Okay, so we have to get rid of all the combos first. So where do we see combos? Well, it's not this, okay? We're not going to say, oh, look, there's a negative and a negative. No, because there's a number in between them. We're looking for things like this. There's a negative and a negative there, and then here we have a positive and a negative next to each other. Okay, let's do that one in a different color. Let's do that one like that. So for the first combo, we have a negative and a negative next to each other. Now, can you remember what that becomes? Well, I don't want you to remember, but I want you to know how to do it. So if we have 1, 2 lines, 2 is a even number. Even always becomes positive. So we're going to say minus, or let's first do the next, or we can say -2, which is this one. And then this combo we just said becomes a plus. Now, here we have a plus and a minus next to each other. So here we have a plus and a minus. So that is 1, 2 lines over there, 1 line over there. So that's 3 lines. 3 is odd. Odd is negative. So we're changing this to a negative. Okay, now we've gotten rid of all the combos. No brackets are remaining. So we good. So now what we do is we take the first thing, which is -2, put a little dot on your number line. Now, this next part is a plus. Remember, plus means right. Minus means left. So we're going to go +2. So we're going to go 1, 2. Now we are over here. So we're going to go minus. That means left. And we're going to go how many places left? 3 places left. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And so where do we end up? -3. So that is our answer. We've got 2 more examples. The last one is going to be a 4. Like 4 things, okay? So let's do this one. Ooh, we don't have a number line. So first step, combos. Where do we see combos? Well, there's a combo over here. And there is a combo over there. So for the first one, it's a positive and a negative next to each other for this one over here. Okay, there's a positive and a negative. Now, if you count the number of lines, there's 1, 2 lines over there and 1 line over there. So that's 3 lines. So we should know by now that 3 is odd, and odd is always a negative. Okay, so we can change this part over here to a negative. Okay, now if we look at this combo over here, we have a negative next to a negative. So how many lines can you see over here? Well, there's 1, 2 lines. 2 is a even number. Even means positive. So we're going to say, oh, I should have put the 2 over there. Okay, now we're going to put a plus and then a 1. So you see what we've done? We've just changed this combo by using this part, and then we just changed this combo using that part over there. Now we have everything looking good. So here's our starting part on the number line, -5. Okay, so we go to -5. Then what do we get next? There's a negative. Okay, so negative means left. Positive means right. So we're going to go left 2 places. 1, 2. Okay. Now the next thing is a plus. Plus means right. How many places to the right are we going to go? 1. So we are over here now, and then we're going to go 1 place to the right. So where do we end up? -6. Last question coming up. Woo! Can you handle it? So have a look here. We've got 3 combos now. Here's our first combo. Let's call that combo number 1. Here's our second combo. Let's call that combo number 2. And here's our third combo. That's combo number 3. So for combo number 1, we've got a positive next to a negative. For combo number 2, we've got a negative next to a negative. And for combo number 3, we've got a negative next to a negative. Alrighty then. So what we're going to do let's do our combos. So we know that if you have a positive next to a negative, that's 1, 2 lines for this one. When I say that, I'm talking about 1, 2, and then there's 3. So that's 3 lines. So 3 is an odd number. 3 lines, that's odd, and that means negative. So for combo number 2, we've got 1, 2 lines. So 2 lines is an even number. 2 is even, and that means positive. Then for combo number 3, we've got 1, 2 lines, which is even, and that's positive. So we now go rewrite everything. So we've got -3. Then for combo number 1, it became a negative. For combo number 2, it became a positive. And for combo number 3, it became a positive. There we go. Now we've gotten rid of all the combinations, and so we have no more brackets or anything weird. So now we just start in our number line. So -3 is our starting position. Then remember, negative means left, positive means right. So we're going to go left 2 places. Okay, left 2 places. So 1, 2. Then we're going to go positive, which means right, and we're going to go 2 places. So we're going to go 2 places back. 1, 2. So we're back to the starting position. Oh, come on, Kevin, do it nicely. There we go. Well, it still looks ugly. There we go. And then we're going to do this last one, which is a positive. So that means right, and we're going to go 1 place to the right. So 1 place to the right. And so we end up over here at -2.